Hello and welcome to episode 298 of the Hooniverse Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff, and I am joined virtually by Christopher Hayes.
Yes, that's true. We're running it through, the old studio setup here. This is kind of how I do remote stuff with, I've done it with a couple other shows, and then I do it with work stuff too when we're actually addressing our user base. So
nice. Well, this is very interesting. This is a good test for us to do this, and could lead to a nice way for future guests and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of, as you know, Jeff, I mean, there was setting this studio up and everything was, part of it was done so that we could do remote guests.
Right.
So this is the first time we've done it with Hooniverse, so we'll see how it goes. There may be, apologies if there's an echo. I'm not entirely sure. Are you hearing it on your end, Jeff?
I hear no echo.
Okay. So if there's any little hiccups, let us know. We'll address them. But this is the first time out with us doing this, so let's give it a run.
Yes, and we're going to dive into, this is going to be the meat of the evening, actually, because it's probably near and dear to your heart. There's a new Corvette.
Oh, I was going to say, what are we talking about, Jeff?
I have no agenda tonight. I just wanted to pick your brain on your thoughts of the new Corvette. I was at the reveal event.
I know you were. I saw your very short video that looked like you were hiding a badge, possibly.
No. I just threw it around my neck because for video, I don't want it dangling there, and I didn't want it hitting the mic.
Oh, I thought maybe it had the other company on it.
No. It literally just said media. It didn't have anybody's name.
Oh,
I was
okay.
as a guest of Hooniverse.
I should also address it's about 95 degrees in here, so it's a little toasty. So if I'm sipping water throughout the entire thing, now you know why.
It was a neat event held at the old Tustin hangars, which used to house blimps back towards the beginning of World War II, I believe it was. Beginning, yeah.
Back when we thought blimps were a good idea for warfare.
Right. But the structures are still cool. I think they're one of the.
Oh yeah, the building looked really cool. I had no idea that stuff was there, and I used to live not far from there.
I think they're the largest standing wooden structures.
Yeah, that's what they said because I watched the live stream of the event, and the woman that was hosting it said that it was like I think maybe she said it was the second largest standing wooden structure in the world or something like that.
Yeah, it's
square footage wise, not any other means, but yeah.
Yeah, they're built back in 1942. They are pretty cool buildings. I mean, I've seen them for years. I drive by them fairly frequently. I've just never been inside them. And just watching the doors open was pretty neat. From the
the way the doors open on that thing is actually the coolest thing about it, I think. Cool. They just kind of like slide back, almost like Roman shades. They're pretty cool.
Yeah. It was cool. I liked it. And then you go in, and right away they had the 3 serve vehicles. So serve 1, serve 2, serve 3.
Yeah. And we should probably mention what those are.
Serve 1 was the first. It was a experimental Chevy vehicle where the engine was behind the driver.
It
looks like an open wheel race car. It was crazy lightweight. It weighs like nothing.
It was like it stood for like Zora's experimental road vehicle or something like that.
CERV.
Oh, CERV. There was something that was a Zora experimental thing too.
It was all Zora, though, who did this one. Then number 2 was, it almost looks kind of like an early Ford GT40, like one of the concept 40s, oddly enough. And that thing was also...
And then there was another one from the 90s as well. Yeah,
that looks kind of like a Jag XJ220.
Yep.
Again, also engine behind. That one might even be all-wheel drive or something crazy. But Chevy has been wanting to do this for decades.
Yeah, I mean, Zora Artis Duntov said, like, at the C2, he's like, this car needs to go mid-engine. Or not mid-engine, because that's the thing that's been going around a lot. There's been a lot of bitching about it on, like, Jalopnik and stuff like, hey, it hasn't been mid-engine. No, it's been mid-engine for a long time. It's been front-mid.
I hate front-mid. I choose to disagree that is, unless the engine is behind the driver, it's all front to me. I understand axle placement and engine placement, and there's between like Audi's front engine and Corvette, where the Audi's like 3 feet past the nose. It feels like sometimes, even though they've gotten a lot better.
Oh
I
yeah,
know front mid, but unless it's behind the driver, it doesn't count.
I don't know. I'd argue just because like Ferrari does it with the F12 as well, or whatever the hell they're calling it now. But
and I would disagree with them too. So it's not just me being a Corvette thing.
No, and I get that. It's one of those things to where, like, show me where the center of gravity is that it will rotate around. I can't remember if that's moment of inertia or which one that is. I think that's moment of inertia. Anyway, wherever that is, like, I'm cool with that so long as it's, so long as everything's balanced fore and aft of that.
But it's fair to say, though, that this is the first time in the production it's been behind the driver rather than getting hung up.
And the funny thing is I think the product of that will likely be is it's probably going to have a rearward weight balance now.
I think it's slightly rear shifted, and oddly enough, and you never see this, the brake rotors are slightly larger in the rear.
That would make sense.
And it's usually, it's always bigger brakes in front.
That indicates to me then that there may be a significant rear weight bias.
I don't think it's significant, though. I think there's already been speculation that it's pretty neutral.
Now, when you say bigger in the rear, do you mean just bigger than it had been or bigger than the front rotors?
Rear rotors are slightly larger than the front rotors unless there was a typo in GM's specs.
The only thing that would make sense for then is if there's like a 40-60 rear weight balance.
I feel like they couldn't put the car out, though, if it was 40-60. I feel like this has to be pretty close to neutral, and maybe they just needed that slightly larger surface area. We'll just have to wait and see.
We're going to have to see a corner balance. That's what it comes down to. But, you do that if you've got a significant rear weight bias, you do it that way because now you've lost all that weight up front so that you're going to squat now more in the rear. So that tells me it's probably going to feel like stopping a 911 turbo or something at this point. It's probably going to be a bit of a squat in the back.
I'm very... So when the first, camo shots were coming out, I was like, okay, this is kind of oddball, quasi-Ferrari-esque and this and that. And then I finally... The official images leaked online an hour before the event.
Yeah, congratulations to whoever was in charge of that at GM. They kept it tight this time.
They did until Esquire boned him. And then it looked really good in person. It still says Corvette to me in its design language. The nose and the tail still say Corvette. The only way it gets lost, and this happens to every mid-engine car, is in the direct profile, because that's just how mid-engine cars look.
Yeah.
When you look at it directly from the side, you're like, oh, I see a bit of Acura, I see a bit of Ferrari, I see a bit of McLaren. But you could say the same thing for every other mid-engine car.
Yeah, exactly. The only one that really sticks out to me as far as the current mid-engines, there are two that have the distinct, and that's McLaren and the R8, because they're not angular.
Yeah.
They're very swoopy, if you will.
Yeah, everything else is hard.
Right.
Everything cut lines. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
To me, it looks a lot like a hybrid between an NSX and a 458.
Yeah, totally. Which isn't a bad thing. And then there's enough style in there that says Corvette that it works for me. It looks really good. And then I like 90% of the cabin space. That row of buttons seems fucking stupid.
Yeah, what was there? Isn't the count something like 20 buttons?
I don't even know. It's just, I know the argument is that it's HVAC. It's kind of a set it and forget it.
Yeah.
I know maybe I'm stupid. I don't use automatic cruise control. I don't know why. And maybe this is me being an old guy. I never hit a number and set it on auto because I hate when you first get in the car and the fans are blowing like crazy. I'd rather just keep the fans quieter and suffer for a few minutes.
You said cruise control. You mean temperature.
You mean temperature. I meant automatic climate control.
I don't use the auto climate control either because I find that irritating. I hate when you get in a car and the fans, if it's needed, if you're in South Florida or something, you got to crank it up, go for it. But
here we don't need that.
The blowers at full blast now in modern cars is deafeningly loud.
I hate it. Yeah. So I never use automatic climate control.
I've never once used it in my Vette in the 11 years that I've owned it.
So I can understand the argument for why people would say, but I don't know, man. I just think it looks fucking silly.
But 20 buttons down the middle. I kind of had a theory in that, you know how everybody bitches about touchscreen controls to things.
Yeah.
So I think the GM engineers at this point, because they were experimenting with, with like the Q system and some of the Chevy MyLink to where there were very few physical buttons. They said, I think somebody just went back and went, "Oh, you want buttons, do you?"
Yeah.
Here are all of the buttons.
Right.
Yeah,
it's like they rendered a chart out, like, well, we could do this as a joke. And someone was like, yeah, that's perfect. They're like, really? What?
Yeah, I think to me, it seems like one of those quirks that like, it's gonna be mildly annoying at first, but if you actually own it after a week, it's gonna be whatever.
Oh, I'm sure. You're probably right about that. But I didn't mean all of those buttons could be condensed into a rectangle that lives under the screen as physical buttons still. And whatever. The rest of it looks cool. The steering wheel doesn't bother me.
I'm not crazy about the wheel, but whatever.
It doesn't bother me. And then there's some good color options. Like there's a red and a blue. That's
there's that brown though. I want that brown
on the outside.
Oh yeah,
loose bronze metallic. I think it's called.
God, that's a pretty color.
Cool. It was cool. I think it looked browner on video than it does in person.
I looked at it on the website. It's got more of a grayish tints for sure.
More of a grayish green.
But I really like that color on a lot of cars. Like Infiniti used to sell cars in that color, and I really liked it in that color.
Yeah, the red. Obviously, everyone's going to need to get Z51 right out of the gate.
Yeah. I mean, okay. So here's my thoughts on Z51. In the C5 and C6 days, Z51 bought you like sway bars and slightly upgraded brakes and all that stuff. Right. But if you're a person that was gonna go and upgrade that stuff anyway, it was a waste of money.
Sure.
C7, it started to be getting to be a bit more worthwhile. C8 seems like it's totally worthwhile because you're getting the eDiff, plus you're getting the ancillary cooling.
The diff is a big one for sure.
Yeah,
I know they all come with the dry sump, which is good. They have to.
But you know what? To be fair, though, it's like the dry sump is not new for GM's motors. Sure. You know.
And then you move from all seasons to P4Ss, which I mean, if you're serious, you would do anyway.
Who would buy that car with all seasons?
Right. You know? Well, someone who just spent $59,999 on it.
Yeah, that's exactly Let's talk about that price of under $60K. It's going to be the same way that Apple sells a laptop under $1,000. It's going to be $999.99.
Even so, the rumor is Z51 is going to be about $12,000, which is funny because that's like right where I guessed that a Corvette that you'd want to buy would start at 72. Amazing deal still.
Yeah, and I think once you'll probably be able to spec out a base C6 to about 85.
C8.
That'd be my guess.
You said C6
or C8 rather. Okay. Yeah.
So even at the base, even if you spec it out into the mid 80s, I still think it's a phenomenal deal.
Oh yeah, there's nothing that touches it. I mean, this car is such a heartbreaker for Toyota with the Supra because Supras are kicking in that 60K mark right now, and you would be insane. Like, if you're buying the car not just because you love the Supra, but you're buying it because of performance potential, right? That sale's just gone. It's disappeared now.
I think it's a similar discussion I had with someone else who's a major Porsche guy. I think a lot of the initial Supra buyers are probably people who've been dying for this to come back, and they don't care. You know, like, it's a BMW or whatever. It's a Supra. It's a new Supra. Mm-hmm. And then I think, like, the argument a lot of people are making on Twitter is that why would you buy a Cayman? Especially like Cayman GT4 starts at about a lot. I think 115,000 or something.
Yeah, and you know, a regular Cayman, I get it. Like, the Vette's going to be kind of a raucous car. It's not subtle in any way ever. Corvettes never are really. Although C5s, I can make an argument that a C5's almost subtle.
Now next to a 7 and an 8.
Yeah, and then my C6, knock on wood, aging gracefully.
Yes, it is. But the Porsche person made a good argument. Like, so, and it actually applies to Corvette people too. It's when you were a kid and you saw those Porsches and it got stuck in your head. When I make money as an adult, I'm going to own Porsche someday. And this happened with Porsche people and Corvette people. They saw them. They're like, I need to have one of those someday. So the arrival of the C8 doesn't affect the guy on the path to get his Cayman. But he might look over and go, oh, that's a pretty badass car.
Yeah.
I'm still buying a Porsche. And
I think
the Corvette guy is like, well, yeah, sure, Cayman's cool, but American V8, yeah.
I think the guy that casually kind of, or not even guy really, but the person that wants the nice.
How woke of you.
Well, I say this just because, like, women tend to buy more reasonable vehicles, right? Generally speaking, they're not as insane as we are with this stuff, especially young men. I think young men, if you've got the money from a Cayman to a Corvette, I think the Corvette's going to get the sale. I think well, hear me out, is I think that if you're a little older and you're like, I want mid-engine, but I want some refinement and I don't want something that draws a lot of attention and I want it to be kind of just chill, I think the Cayman's in your territory, or if you're a diehard Porsche person. But if you want the mid-engine chassis because you want a mid-engine chassis and you want to do stupid things with it, I think maybe the Cayman sale's gone.
I just feel like if you're the Porsche buyer,
yeah,
at some point you're not as focused on the numbers. Though maybe they used to be, and there were other cars that were like 90% as good performance-wise, but then the Porsche steps over. So like last gen Aston Martin Vantages was always a concession that you're giving up tons to the 911, but you pull up to the valet in a Vantage. It's like, oh, who gives a shit about a 911?
That and Astons tend to age very well.
Yeah. And then the like a Corvette guy next to the stoplight of the Porsche guy, they'll look over at each other's car and be like, oh, that's cool. And then be very happy they're in their choice.
No. Let's be honest. The Corvette guy sits there revving and the 911 guy is going, really?
Yeah, I'm not going to do. Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to deal with this. That's funny, and it's probably true.
And this is me being guilty of being in both camps. So,
well, I mean, your exhaust can be heard 3 counties over. So,
it can. That thing is ridiculous.
So you talk about if you had to pick a favorite part of the new C8, I want you to talk about it and why, because I'm going to run and grab a beer.
Okay. So as far as the C8 goes, I think the most interesting thing is what they've done in terms of being able to get some really complex casting techniques in order to build a super rigid mid-chassis car without breaking the bank. They didn't have to do a carbon fiber monocoque, although that would be cool, but they were able to do it with conventional manufacturing techniques that GM knows how to do well and scale up at a reasonable cost.
Right.
What are you drinking there, Jeff? It's a little hard to see.
Wolf Pup Session IPA from Golden Road.
Okay. It's a fancy can. But did you hear where I was going with that, Jeff?
Yes, the frame. They could have went carbon fiber, but the price would have went insane.
Yeah, it's cool that, and I like the fact that it's still a double wishbone, that it didn't go with a multi-link in the rear. That's so tried and true, works well, super reliable.
But no leaf.
What's that?
No more leaf spring, right? C7 still had a leaf, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It did.
So no more leaf though for C8.
Yeah, the funny thing is like C5, C6, C7 were all built from the factory to be able to work with a coil spring. With a coil spring, there was no problem with it. It's just they went with the leaf spring. I think they felt some of the pressure of history. And I think I really applaud, Tad Juchter and those guys that are running Corvette now, is they're okay with telling the purist classic guys, yeah, your time is gone. You're no longer our target.
Right.
Let's just move forward.
Yeah. And he gave a good, Tajik gave a good speech at the live stream, though I will say that the first 2 people they had speak were pretty awesome because they were astronauts.
Okay. I didn't see that.
Yeah, so Mae Jemison and Commander Scott Kelly came out and spoke for like 10 minutes, talking about space, and then it tied into astronauts and Corvettes, the 50th anniversary of Apollo, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
and for people that don't know, NASA had a history. I don't think they do it at all anymore, although they might start again. NASA had a history of
they still do Corvette stuff.
Yeah, so NASA, if you're an astronaut, when you got back to Earth, GM went, congratulations. Now, as a token of our appreciation, here's your new Corvette.
Actually, there's a workaround for that. NASA would not allow them as government employees to accept a free car. So
under modern ethics for that stuff, yeah.
A dealer in Florida sold them to them for $1.
Yeah.
And so they technically paid for the cars, and the NASA was like, you know what? Fuck it. It works for us. And then that's how it started with John Glenn, I believe. And then, like, for decades, astronauts all drove Corvettes. And I believe some of them still drive Corvettes. I mean, Scott Kelly said he has Corvettes.
Yeah. They won a lot of fans with the NASA guys doing that. And, cool.
It's cool. And then the 3 Corvettes they brought in for the live stream reveal on stage were red, white, blue because, of course.
Well, yeah. Because America.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious where they're going to go from here. Like, what is the Z06 going to do? What is the potential ZR1 going to do?
Well,
is there going to be Flora variant?
So the interesting thing is thus far, all of the people that I talked to in the industry that were OEM adjacent, let's say, to this project for years, basically laid out most of this for me about 3 years ago. I had some educated guesses just because, you can do that. If you watch these platforms evolve, you can kind of go, yeah, I think they'll go here. Yeah, I think they'll go there. Right. And when I was at SEMA, the talk of the engine for the Z06 was a 5.5 liter twin turbo dual overhead cam motor, a variant of that Blackwing motor that Caddy is starting to use now.
Right. That would be dope.
And it's supposed to be flat plane, rev to about 85, and twin turbo.
Flat plane, really?
We'll see. I had my doubts on the flat plane part of it. Right. But it should also be massively over square as a motor. Okay. So relatively short stroke and just lots of revs. But they make up for the lack of torque with the short stroke by turbos. Which, by the way, there is never a car that's been clearer set up for turbos from day one since that car. It's just got 2 gaping holes on either side of the engine where they're clearly going to be putting all the forced induction hardware.
Well, someone also said that there's talk of hybrid variants in the future, and there's a tunnel forward, which is there's nothing in it now.
Yep.
But that's where an electric motor would.
That I also noticed when at the live event where they like to put them up on the side. They like to stack the car up on the side. You can very clearly see that they're running the fluid lines right now for cooling, but there's clearly room for a drive shaft. But I don't think they'll even do a drive shaft. I think that what they'll do is they'll put electric motors in the front.
Yeah.
And that'll be that.
Yeah. Just like hub style or just driven right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to predict the Z06 is probably going to come in around 800 horsepower, and then they'll put out a ZR1, within the last 2 years of production and make it 1,000.
Jesus Christ. That'd be great.
GM, the 500 horsepower on the base model or 492 or whatever the hell they're calling it, is clearly GM just recycling. I mean, as much as they say they're not recycling an engine, they're recycling an engine. That is a holdover. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see that base engine disappear in probably 2 years. Just kind of like the C6 went from the LS2 to the LS3, which wasn't a drastic architecture change, but I just anticipate the GM probably will drop the pushrod motor and the Vettes in full within a couple years of production. It's just historically, every time GM launches a Vette, the first model year of the new one is usually kind of a hybrid of parts from the old car and the new car.
Yeah. Someone made a great point is that GM is crazy not to offer like a small batch run of launch edition cars, price them at like 120 or something crazy.
Yeah.
Make a few hundred of them, no more than 1,000, but keep it light. They'd sell them all like that.
They would, but the question is, would they take a hit with their reputation as being the everyman's supercar? would that tarnish that image with a certain group?
Maybe, but you just say, well, don't buy a launch edition. Maybe it's possible. But
I agree. They'd probably sell them all. Just like I mean, Ford has no shame about doing special edition Mustangs. There's a special edition Mustang for like every month in the year.
Right. Now, how do you feel about the no manual thing?
I'm fine with it.
Me too, actually.
It's the reality is that the vast majority of Corvette sales have been automatics for a long time, and the business case for building a manual in there is tricky at best. If there's that much demand, they'll figure out a way to do it later on. But I don't anticipate there will be, because that appears to be the ZF 8-speed auto dual clutch that's in there, which is the same transmission that Porsche uses in the 992s.
This and a manual would block all those buttons on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you gotta have buttons.
You can't have that.
Yeah. So back to buttons. How did the interior look and feel kind of when you were there?
I didn't get close enough to touch the interior.
Okay.
However, it was mobbed. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, that was clear. Is that
I wasn't waiting until like the last 5 minutes of the evening to get to sit in the car. It's real leather or suede where those things are being touched, and then the buttons are apparently real metal.
Okay, that's a big step up.
Which gear is metal? If you see metal, it's metal.
That's good. That's right. Really good. It's the C7 was a big step up in interior, but they still had a little bit more to go.
Yeah.
And if that's executed with nice materials, I mean, there's no more making excuses at that point. If that's executed with nice materials as well, there's nothing that you can go, but on this car.
Sure. Yeah, no, and it'll be interesting to see what this does to C7 prices.
C7 prices are already in the shitter.
Yeah, I've heard, what is it, like 12 off on Z06?
You can go buy a base C6 for like 42, 44 right now. Or C7, rather.
It'd be awesome to pick up a Grand Sport right now.
It would be if you wouldn't be kicking yourself so hard as soon as that C8 came out. Because I think the Grand Sport's a great car. Actually, to me, if you're going to buy a C7, there are two cars to get. It's either the Grand Sport or the ZR1. I don't really... It's hard to make a justification for the Z06 because it's so problematic.
Right.
And the base car is just... It's good, but, this Grand Sport's just a fantastic car.
It's going to be funny, too. You're going to pull up at like a Cars and Coffee type thing in your brand new to you Grand Sport.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, what kind of car is that? Like some young kid. You're like, oh, it's a Corvette. He's like, no, it's not. That's not what a Corvette looks like.
Yeah. Watching this and watching the development of it, it's very, very clear that I don't think I'll probably ever get rid of my C6 because it's going to be so drastically a difference between that and every modern sports car from now until the end of time. Like, my car's got a, hydraulic steering rack, a manual transmission, the chassis made of steel. It's just, it's becoming like quaint almost.
Yeah.
And it's, I just never thought the C7 was going to age gracefully, and I'm still kind of swearing by that because I think it's just going to get washed over so quickly by the C8.
Yeah, I could see that. It was just like a stepping stone from 6 to 8, basically.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of your cars, how is your fleet doing?
Okay, for the most part. So, I had to do all the emission stuff, and I had to do a little tuning on my car. So I finally bought a copy of HP Tuners, if you're familiar with it.
I'm not.
HP Tuners is the standard software for basically editing all LS motors, and they've expanded now into Ford and Mopar stuff too. So you fire it up on your computer, and you can modify pretty much anything that you want to on there. So I'm starting to get into tuning that thing a little more so I can actually understand that software a bit better. So that's cool. So the Vet's kind of a work in progress. I think I've got a big brake kit coming via a friend of the show. So we're talking about getting that together for episode 300. So if everything comes in, I will bring it, to episode 300 and prop it up proudly behind the camera and go, thanks, guys. Nice. And then, let's see. And then the Porsche is currently had a problem with one of the taillights. So apparently now to fix that, I have to disassemble the entire rear end of the car.
Cool. You're going to do it yourself, though?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I am.
Otherwise, that'd be a hefty bill.
I do have the warranty on it, but the warranty's a $500 deductible. And it
might save you some headache, though.
It might, but at the same time, I'm also not wanting to spend $500 on something that will probably take me 3 or 4 hours to fix. It's not like any of the work that I have to do is like difficult. It's just like tedious of pulling off the bumper and shit like that.
All right.
And then, strangely, the other thing I bought the other day is that I made the call on a Prime Day sale. I bought a dash cam for the Porsche.
Nice.
Front and rear dash cam on it. I haven't installed it yet. I just got it. I'll probably talk about it on like the next show or something. The thought is like that car got hit parked once already. Right. If I had had a dash cam in it, I would have known who did it, and my insurance company could have gone after them, and I would have been up $500 in my pocket.
Right.
So I spent $140 on a dash cam that can potentially save me $500 anytime if it gets in it again. So,
well, keep me posted if you like it, because I've been thinking about putting one in the Montero.
The Montero, how is the Montero going?
Good. Montero's fine.
Yeah.
Running well. Still very happy with it. Taking it in the dirt a little bit. Having that factory bouncy seat is amazing on a trail. It's very comfortable. Though I posted this to Instagram a couple weeks back. I was about to upgrade the speakers.
Mm-hmm.
I was starting with the rears, and they were a little smaller than I thought. I thought it was the size I needed. I could have gone up a size. So I was trying to make it work in the existing holder, and I was screwing something in or trying to, and I slipped and punched right through the cone.
Oof.
First speaker of the 4 I was trying. First speaker. That's not a kick in the dick when you're doing work. So I was like, well, okay, this day's done for now because I don't want to do anything else. And what's the point of installing 3 speakers?
Mm-hmm.
So I have that speaker mounted. The magnet is stuck to my toolbox as a reminder of the fuck up.
Did you already buy a replacement?
No.
The good news is it's not going to be as good as it was, but you can repair that cone and not have it be awful.
Yeah. It wasn't an expensive speaker.
Even still, if you fix it carefully, you use the right material, because it's not like the speaker cone is what generates the sound in and of itself, if that makes sense. It's the movement of the cone.
Right.
So like, so long as that cone's rigid, like, and you make the repair on like the back side of it, you'll probably be okay. And with it being a rear speaker, you'll probably never notice the difference anyway.
Maybe. But either way, I got to get cracking and get the rest of the speakers in. And,
just get some like fabric tape and use some super glue on it, and you should be good.
We'll see. It was it sucked though. It sucked.
Yeah. No, that's I've done that many years ago, and you go, well, there goes $140.
Yeah, no, they weren't that expensive. They're Pioneers, so they're not. They're good speakers, but it sucked.
Did you put a head unit and everything in it too, or
what's that?
Did you put a head unit?
It's been in it for a bit.
Okay.
I have a Clarion M508 in there, which is working fine. It was just time to upgrade the speakers because it's if I have like the windows cracked, it's just hard to hear. The speakers aren't loud enough. You know? So I just need more juice running through there. And then Benz is still for sale. Just driving it occasionally and not pressing too hard to get it sold. I guess I could be doing more work. I keep toying with the idea of just throwing it on Bring a Trailer and whatever happens. But I don't know. I'm just enjoying it on occasion. And then been driving a few press cars. This week I have the Range Rover SV Autobiography Dynamic. So
that's a long name.
The full-size Range Rover, not the wheelbase, but still the big Range Rover.
Yeah, not the Chinese edition.
Yeah, but with the 550 horsepower supercharged V8, and then instead of 5 seats, it's 4 seats because it's a little nicer inside. If you had to guess an MSRP on that, what would you think?
135.
182.
Holy shit.
Yes.
That is not worth it.
And then, so the long wheelbase version starts at 210.
What does like a Bentayga go for?
It's in the 2s, I think. Hold on, I'll tell you right now. But so I took the Range Rover today in the dirt to just, what do you do with a $182,000 Range Rover?
Right.
Get it dirty. No one else will. And we got it up there to the top of this canyon road or this trail. And I told Josh, who was shooting with me, I'm like, all right, take it down this trail. I'm going to fly the drone. He got in the car, put on his seatbelt, drove 3 feet, and blew the left front tire.
Hopefully that was on camera.
We filmed him fixing it because I made him change it. The Bentayga starts at 165, but it quickly that's the V8 Bentayga.
Yeah.
And I think the 12 starts at like 200.
Okay, so let me ask you, in that price range, we've got the Bentayga, we've got like the Cayenne, and we get the Rover.
To be totally honest, the Range Rover, full-size Range Rover is kind of like one of my dream dailies someday. So as crazy as it sounds, if I was shopping amongst those 3, I would take the Range Rover.
Would you say it's crazy to compare those 3, though, ultimately?
No, this is pretty nice. This is really nicely done inside. It still is fucking crazy that this vehicle exists.
Yeah.
Because I would buy lesser versions of this over Bentleys and top tier cars.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I'm getting to on this one. Is like, does this version exist for like nobody? Because you can spend $50,000 less and get 95% of the experience.
It exists for like Calabasas, mall crawl, snobbery, Beverly Hills, Miami, the Hamptons. Just so like other.
Well, wait. Miami, it would have to have the neon orange interior package.
This is bright. This is red on the outside and has red leather on the inside.
Okay, that's loud for a Rover. That's loud for a Rover.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then so on the long wheelbase version,
mm-hmm.
One that starts at 210, there are paint options that range from $2,500 on the low end to $25,000 on the high end.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me. Have you seen the crazy paint options for the NSX as well?
No.
Yeah, so they've got a few different paint classifications, and like on the NSX, I get it. It's it's supercar. It's a very expensive vehicle. Like if you want extra fancy paint, yeah, you'll probably be willing to pay the extra $6 or $10,000, whatever. But the crazy thing is that for whatever reason, Acura has decided that they're offering those same paint options on things like the TL.
Oh, you're talking about the new. Yeah. Okay. So there's a new. They did it first on either the MDX or the RDX, where it's sprayed in the same factory where the NSX is sprayed.
Yeah.
So these special edition cars. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I just love the idea that like, hey, here's a $35,000 to $52,000 car. Would you like the $9,000 paint option?
Yeah. No, it is crazy.
Yeah, it's insanity.
Do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of the NSX, wow, what the fuck are they gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I feel bad for that car because it's a really good car.
Yeah.
On its own, like just as it sits, and the NSX buyer can say like, oh well, I wanted all-wheel drive. I like the idea of a hybrid for commuting, and I get all that stuff. So, I mean, maybe I don't know. I feel like NSX buyer is not a Corvette buyer. Like I feel like that's too.
Yeah, but from a car that's already very niche to peel off a handful more buyers, that's like painful for them. I'm sure. The other one that kills me, but it is absolutely deserved because it's psychotic, is the pricing of the GTR now was inexcusable before. Now it's just Nissan just slapping you in the face with their dick going, you like it, don't you?
Yeah,
you know, it's $100,000+ for a GTR. In a world where we now have a $60,000 mid-engine Corvette.
Actually, if you go all the way to the top GTR trim for 2020, it's $200,000.
Yeah. So, how insane would you have to be buying GTRs at this point?
You have to want the JDM supercar, so to speak, I guess.
Do you just live and die with the Japanese flag wrapped around you at that point?
Pretty much. I think so at that point.
That car just makes no sense to me. That car is even, like, the original NSX, especially the last, 3 years of its run, made no business sense whatsoever. Nobody would buy it. It was way overpriced. The GTR is that, but tenfold. And I'm wondering kind of if Honda's going to have to figure out some way to get the NSX price down a little bit.
Well, the other thing I was talking with someone is they should do like an NSX Type R and do like some crazy Power One, low production numbers, and just go nuts with it. Put a GT3 wing on it from their race car and make it 650 horsepower or something bananas, and just stoke interest in it again.
Have you looked into kind of any of the NSX tuning stuff? Is that community kind of?
No idea. I mean, it's Honda, so it has to exist. But
yeah,
I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it.
I'm just wondering, how much headroom did they leave? Are they going to be able to just turn up the wick on the NSX a little bit, just crank the boost a little bit, and go, okay, we're cool now. This is 650 horsepower. The base vet's 500. There's enough of a difference that helps justify us.
I'm sure. I mean, most of these automakers leave stuff on the table for those purposes, so we'll see. I'm sure there's discussion about what they're going to do next.
Speaking of leaving things on the table, one of the things that really stuck out to me on the new LT2 motor, or new as it were, is the exhaust manifolds. They're not conventional cast manifolds. GM built headers off the motor out the door.
Yeah.
So good luck to all the header manufacturers now.
But to a Corvette guy, that's I put new headers on it. You're like, yeah, but how?
You know what? From a guy that's done headers on so many cars, I look at that now and I go, good enough. Because especially being in California and dealing with emission stuff.
Yeah.
Although you might argue that it'd be easier to get through now than ever, because you'll always be like, look, they're just like the factory headers.
Yeah, maybe. It's definitely possible. Either way, this car is very exciting. I can't wait to drive it at some point down the road. It's going to be an interesting machine.
Did the price surprise you?
Yeah, though there was an audible gasp in the room.
Yeah.
The whole room. Oh.
I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and the number of times people told me, "Oh, it's going to be $100,000 car." I'm just like, I always looked at them and I went, "Why?" It inherently costs no more to produce a car with an engine in the front versus an engine in the back. It's still the same amount of steel and aluminum. It's just in a different place. It's like Mexican food. It's just like, how many different varieties of cheese, tortilla, and meat can you make?
I've had some shitty Mexican food and some amazing Mexican food. And we will see if the C8 is amazing Mexican food or not. And I assume it will be. I assume this is going to be some tasty shit.
They really haven't messed up majorly since. I mean, the Z06 cooling thing was a big problem, but for the most part,
Camaro as a whole.
What's that?
And the Camaro as a whole in terms of sales.
In terms of sales, but what I'm getting, I'm talking about in terms of the engineering and how they drive.
The Alpha platform's fantastic. I'm just giving the Camaro shit, and it's about to go away again. Apparently,
are they going to kill it?
Yes.
Where'd you hear that?
There's a number of people reporting it a couple weeks ago. The rumor is that it's not going to live on much longer in its current state, and there's no plans for a next gen.
I highly doubt that.
There was a lot of very big outlets reporting it with people in GM saying we don't have another gen plan. Like it's gotten its ass handed to it in the sales department so badly, where people are like,
yeah, but only recently, because it was keeping up for a long time.
It was treading water, and then the Challenger was like, well, fuck you. And
which still blows my mind that people want to buy that car. It's a 20-year-old E-Class chassis.
Well, it's related to the E-Class. It's not a full E-Class.
I get that. I'm exaggerating, but yes.
But, I mean, they're better marketing. Dodge is better marketing. I mean, you have an aspirational Hellcat, and you're like, oh, my 392 Shaker is just basically the same car. And you're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, I just say it would surprise me if that car went away, just because GM's going to want some. I have a feeling that they're going to want a less expensive sporting car in their lineup than $60K.
Yeah, maybe they're going to make it go away and make people miss it for a year and be like, guess what? What it would be the 7th gen Camaro is back, and it's better than ever, and it's basically like the Corvette some of you guys missed out on. This is basically a front engine Corvette for a lot less.
Yeah, well, I thought that's where they were going, because it's just the current, generation of the Camaro really does bump right up against the C7 in terms of driving dynamics and everything. It's really good.
It is really good. I totally agree. It is really, really good.
And we know Alpha already has a second generation, because all the new Caddy stuff is built on Alpha 2.
Oh.
So the chassis exists. We'll see if they build it.
Interesting. I'm going to start cutting us off here because I got to go have some dinner. This was a great test of this format. I like it. It works well. It could even work if I'm traveling, as long as hotel Wi-Fi is an absolute dog shit. And then, is there anything you want to plug right now besides Shout Engine that you should plug?
No, although I should say on Shout Engine, so for the time being, I had to cut off the free signups because we had so many spammers going in there and creating accounts that it was honestly, they were funneling so much shit through it. It took down the site a couple of nights, which takes a lot of traffic. Yeah. So to kill that off, we had to do that. I'm probably going to come back with a very low cost account option. I mean, the lowest is $5 a month right now, but we may do like a 99-cent basic one or something like that. And then Joe and I have actually been working on Shout Engine V2, which will likely launch later in this summer. I'm wrapping up kind of, as you guys know, I've worked on another project called Guardian Circle as well, and we're wrapping up with that. And after that, I go straight into Shout Engine V2. So cool. Lots of things going on here. This little office, I basically live in it. So welcome to my room, I guess.
Nice. I will be sending out more information on episode 300 soon. It is not going to be as big as episode 200, just a small get-together. We have a fun guest for the evening. My friend Derek Chase Gibbs of Real Big Fish is going to sit in with us for episode 300. He's the bassist, and he is an awesome car dude and a beer lover and just a good guy. So he'll be fun to chat with about his...
Yeah, we're going to talk about 300. Jeff and I have just been so busy. Our it's not like there's any bad blood or anything. It's just like our schedules have not aligned. That's been the problem.
Nope. Yeah, schedule's been tough lately. But
our lives were very different when we started this show.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that was a lot of episodes ago.
Yes, it was.
So I'll be sending out more info on that soon. And then in the meantime, if you're listening to this, you already know where to find me on social media. Go to Hooniverse.com, especially if you want to read more about the 2020 Corvette. I have a video of the 2020 Corvette up on the YouTube channel. And we will see you guys next week.
All right.
Bye-bye.